Hello YouTube. Today we are changing a transmission fluid for a 2004 Grand Cherokee. This is a diesel model. It has a 8-speed transmission from ZF in UK, and Jeep says you never need to change the transmission fluid, but the ZF guy says you need to be changing anywhere from 50,000 mile to 70,000 mile. So mine is exactly less than a 50,000 mile right now, 2014 model. So we're gonna be changing fluid. Originally, okay, so the fluid we're gonna be using is this ZF Lifeguard fluid. You can get it from the Amazon for reasonable price. And we were gonna change the filter as well, but I'll show you in a little bit. When I open the belly pan covering the transmission pan, we discovered that the 3 bolts on the side of the transmission pan are inaccessible unless you take out the transmission or remove the big ass, pardon my French, the cross member connecting underneath the transmission. I'll show you in a little bit. The tools you're gonna need, so we're gonna just change the fluid, and there's a procedure, and I'll put a procedure down in the link. I think I saw it somewhere in the forum, or I might just put a PDF somewhere, but it's a kind of step-by-step thing you have to do. Okay, so tools you're gonna need is some sort of pumping device. I'm using this Mighty Vac. I typically use it to just put the transmission in. My Mercedes has a weird transmission like this one, where your fill port is in the transmission, you know, itself, no dipstick. That's where the most of the newer transmissions seem to be going. So this is what I have. There is a bolt underneath the transmission pan, and that bolt is okay, for drain. Let's see. Oh boy, this is gonna be hard. Okay, so see that bolt? Yep, right there. See that one? That's a 10 millimeter hex. Okay, so we're gonna drain from here, and the fill port is right on the side here. I don't know if you can see that. Right here on the side, that's 8 millimeter hex Allen key. So that's where you fill the transmission from, and this is where you drain. So what we're gonna do is first we're gonna drain the transmission. This transmission drain bolt, and you'll hear that it has a torque written on it. It's 8 Nm, or but as you open it, I wanted to kind of show you. It kind of clicks, okay? So make sure you know you don't get scared when it clicks. I think there's a locking teeth in there. So we're just gonna open it and start draining the transmission fluid. Okay, so one thing about this ZF transmission fluid, it's supposed to be green, okay? And we'll open a new can and you'll see the color. But right now you can see it's not green. It's kind of brown, as you would expect with any fluid, because of the dirt and grime and all the mechanical wear happening inside the transmission, and pressure and temperature. So that's the color we have right now. We're gonna drain as much as we can, and you're not gonna get very much. Again, like I said, I was gonna drop the transmission and get more fluid out, but since we're not gonna be doing this, we're gonna probably end up changing it sooner rather than later. So we kind of replace half of the fluid and other half later, because this pan, okay, like right there, that end of the transmission, there are 4 star bolts, and those are the one that you can't reach unless you remove this particular big cross member, which seems to be connected to the tie rod and whole 9 yard in the front. So I'm not gonna mess with that. I'm just gonna call it good with just the fluid change. One other thing I wanted to show you guys is the replacement transmission pan. It should look like this, right? And these 4 bolts on the back are kind of inaccessible. So we're not gonna be replacing this, but one thing I want to show you is this is the integrated filter. It's just a sump filter with a kind of a sponge in as a filter media. So it's not, you know, it's kind of, in my book, anything with a sponge is gonna be there to just pick up big debris, and it's not really to clean up fine particulates. So if it's gonna clean up big debris today, then it's gonna keep cleaning up 100 years from now, as long as there is no excessive wear and tear. So I call it good. One thing I wanted to talk about is the drain port right here. See there, it's kind of a recessed up inside the pan with about 5 millimeters or so. So that 5 millimeters of fluid, we're gonna have a puddle inside the pan, which we're not gonna be able to drain. So you can try to siphon it off with a small plastic, rubber tube or something if you want to. I'm gonna try that right now, see if I can siphon off anything. But like I said, just change it every 25,000 miles, and every 25,000 miles you replace half of the fluid, and that's good enough. Especially when Jeep says you never need to change fluid, which is, in my opinion, very, very misleading. The fluid is still draining. It's kind of dripping a little bit. So I'm gonna let it drip as long as it's going. I try to siphon it, by the way, but it's not, there's not enough clearance to get a proper siphon. So that's fine. I wanted to talk about the next step, the prep for the next step. So the next step is going to involve putting transmission in a gear with engine running and everything when we fill it. So make sure you jack up the back wheel. So mine is a two-wheel drive, so I'm just jacking up the back two wheels, which is rear wheel drive. If your car is a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, you're gonna have to jack up all four wheels. The service manual says 3 inches off the ground on a proper level surface, because when we fill it, so let's talk about the procedure for filling while we are waiting for the drain. So the procedure is like this. I'm reading off the manual here, okay? So my eye's gonna be off the camera. So first thing you're gonna have to do is start the engine. Okay, the engine needs to run for the entire fill up procedure. Okay, so that's kind of a weird thing. Okay, if you have all-wheel drive, then you need to remove the front propeller shaft, as well as you have to enable the emission roll test mode in PCM. I don't have all-wheel drive, so I'm not going to worry about that. Another thing is you have to make sure the transmission fluid temperature is below 30 degrees centigrade or 86 degrees Fahrenheit when you start it. Disable the traction control, ESC, and then remove the fill plug like we already did. You want to add the transmission all the way until the fluid starts trickling from the fill opening. Okay, at that point you install the fill plug back, and then you apply the brake, place the transmission in reverse, you hold it there for 5 seconds, you put the transmission in drive while putting the brake on, hold it there for 5 seconds, and then release the brake, slowly accelerate until you get in the second gear. And you want to stay there in the second gear for 5 seconds. You apply the brakes again, slowly, because you're on the jack. Okay, if you apply brakes too fast, you might fall off because of the inertia. And then you put the transmission in neutral, and then again rev up the engine to 2000 RPM for 5 seconds, and then run the engine to idle, put the transmission in park. And at this point you make sure your transmission fluid temperature has reached about 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and it has to be below 50 degrees centigrade and 122 degrees Fahrenheit. At that point you come down, remove the fill plug again, and let the excess fluid drain out, and then tighten the fill plug to the torque. Before we started filling, I wanted to show you the setup. Alright, so here we have, that's the fill port. We have a pipe going in there. I hope you can see it. It's kind of hard. I don't know if it's focusing or not, but that's the pipe going in. I put a pan right underneath it so I can keep an eye on it while I pump the fluid. we started with about 4 quarts of fluid in there, and you can kind of barely see it's translucent, but it's a greenish color, and this thing is set up to pump, and we're going to keep an eye on there. As soon as the fluid starts to trickle from the fill port, we're going to stop pumping and close the fill port, and then we'll start our drive and all the stuff process. Okay, like I said before, before we start pumping it in, we turn on the car, we turn off the traction control. The car is in the park, engine running, and we have the pipe going in, and we're gonna keep pumping until it starts trickling out of the fill hole. So we filled up until the trickle. We have the engine running. The transmission temperature on the dashboard shows 93, so that's within our spec. So we're gonna start the whole procedure. First, we put it in the brake applied, put it in the reverse. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we put it in the drive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're gonna put it in the, we're gonna let go the brake, and we're gonna accelerate up to 2nd gear. So we're gonna do slowly, we're gonna apply the, okay, that's the 2nd gear. We're gonna hold it, we're gonna hold it right there for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, oops, slowly turn it off, brake, okay, and then put it in a neutral. Okay, and then we're gonna go again up 2000 RPM, hold it 5 seconds. So we're gonna raise up the RPM 2000 right there on the dot. Oh, right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so that's it. Engine back to idle, put it in the park. The temperature at the end of the test is still 95 within a spec. It has to be between 96 and 122. Now we're gonna go quickly out there and drain the excess. Record, when we opened the fill port after it was 95 Fahrenheit with engine running, we had barely a drop trickling out of there. So we didn't have to drain out anything excess. We just tightened the bolt up. It's again to the, again, I don't remember the torque, but just tighten it up good. It's a fill port, so it's not gonna be under pressure. Well, maybe it would be. So I'll try to find the torque, but if you can't, it's just a standard 8mm. So you're going about, I don't know, 10-15 Nm. That should be good enough. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. My channel has all kinds of DIY stuff and anything around the homestead once we start that.